Well, today is January 20th, and you know what that means? That's my channel's 3rd year anniversary. And this is my first video doing a special one, and yeah, so last night, to celebrate this special occasion, I decided to do a community poll that had 4 potential options with another option possible as well. And the option that won was this one, so sit back, relax, and enjoy. And also, it's really cold out. Today's a perfect day to be recording this. Anyways, let's begin. Subscribe. Born sometime in late January 2021, Grey Cloud became one of the most influential chickens in the pet flock. Even to this day, she's still remembered. Now, she was moved out of the pet flock at, I'd say, somewhere between 8 to 16 weeks old, sometime in May 2021. I think it was May 15th, but I don't really remember too much. After that point, though, she was finally moved into the pet flock along with 3 other chickens, which we'll discuss on later, except for one of them. We won't discuss the rooster. But of course, she was moved into the pet flock. She was fairly happy with doing that, and then over time, she progressively got turned into one of the most friendliest chickens in the pet flock. She became really well known for having fluffy legs along with a fluffy pattern tone on her feathers, which really made her a really special chicken. And in turn, she laid beautiful navy green eggs that were definitely a great part of my eggs at breakfast. Unfortunately, during the July 2023 attacks in the pet flock, she unfortunately passed away, which was about almost 8 months ago, I'd say now. So yeah, that's pretty unfortunate. Born into the farm flock on the exact same day as Grey Cloud, along with all those other little Easter egg chickens, Sprinkles was finally born, and nothing crazy happened to her, although she was involved with my younger sibling's school project, which is why we ended up moving her into the pet flock. During this time in the pet flock, she met our rooster Falcon, who I decided to not discuss in this video because it would take up way too much time, because he has a lot of interesting lore. But besides of that, the chicken, unfortunately, I have 2 possible theories as to what happened on the very dreadful day of March 18th, 2022, which was when the chicken either A, flew off the roosting bar like a complete and utter moron like the chickens really are, and got a kind of a cut on her leg that sort of flew under the radar and unfortunately got infected, which created Bumblefoot. Or B, it was my idiot rooster Falcon who decided to act like a moron on that very day and pushed her down to the ground too hard and unfortunately ended up wounding her a bit, which ended up getting infected and of course flew under the radar. Unfortunately, this injury would become lethal, and she would unfortunately pass away on the very fateful day of May 29th, 2022, which I still haven't yet made a video on, and I'll probably make a 2-year anniversary video this year. March 20th, 2023, a very important day in my chicken's history. And of course, this was the day that this chicken was born with the original 9. These 9 chickens would later go on to be the most infamous chickens on my channel's history. And of course, this chicken would later go on to be the big leader, but was also the first Easter egger to lay an egg, which was a huge accomplishment for the pet flock. But once Mrs. Peeper stepped down sometime in, I'd say maybe mid to late 2022, like summertime maybe, early fall, like August through October 2022, was when Mrs. Peepers decided to step down from role, and Abro got the new top spot on the pet flock, and then to this day she still leads the pet flock, and she is still alive. Also born in the year 2020, BCT became one of the most infamous chickens in the pet flock history. Not only because of her role in My Chicken's Christmas and My Chicken's New Year's, but also because she would also go down in history of being one of the most calm and tame chickens in the entire pet flock, as well as also being the first one to show some signs of respect to the humans. The other chickens just didn't really care until BCT began doing it, and the other chickens realized that BCT was not crazy, and that we're actually there to help, not do harm. BCT was truly one of the first chickens in the flock to show that chickens are one of the most respectable animals, and truly an amazing accomplishment in the chicken's history. But unfortunately, as well as on the July 2023 attacks, BCT is no longer with us. Chicken Burger, one of the most interesting and intricate chickens I think I've ever seen in my entire life. An Easter egger with very little to talk about for the first couple months, But then afterwards, she would very, 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 very quickly go on to be a very weird chicken. First of all, she would always try to escape the yard to lay an egg, which is almost something I'll never see with a normal chicken. She tried very hard, and we ended up having to clip her wings, and when she did that, and she realized she couldn't fly, she kept trying to phase through the fence, which of course didn't go our way. She did this for about a week during laying eggs season, and then afterwards, she kind of calmed down, but then in October 2020, we got a big rainstorm over here, and Chicken Burger's feathers got pretty wet, which is where that infamous annoyed chicken burger face comes from. And then she would become one of the most friendly chickens and probably one of the cutest chickens for the longest time. Unfortunately, however, in April 2023, her moranicness got to her, and some moron fox came out of nowhere and attacked her and unfortunately dragged her away. You can tell by the drag path, which I don't have a picture for unfortunately, that she was definitely dragged away by something small but yet effective. I have a couple possibilities as to what could have gotten her. It was either A, a fox, B, a bobcat, C, an opossum, or D, a skunk. It could be any of those. Comment down below your most likely option for that. On the 20th of March 2020, an annoying chicken was born into the pet flock. Her name was Loudmouth. She was really, really loud and wouldn't really shut up. She kept running her mouth about how she wanted to be put back in the brooder when someone was about to grab another chicken. I'm not joking. She was kind of like that. Fortunately, before she moved outside, she would finally get over that addiction of being the most annoying chicken possible. However, not before gaining the name Loudmouth. She was one of the few chickens that would actually lay eggs over the winter of 2021, the really cold one. To this day, Loudmouth still remains as one of the remaining few chickens from the old pet flock, which is very unfortunate to say, because there should be 9 chickens left, but as we'll find out later, not a lot of them are left. So Loudmouth is one of the remaining ones of the original pet flock. Let's give Loudmouth a quick round of applause. Now, the lore behind Cute isn't really the greatest, and she's just your typical chicken, so it won't really make a big portion of this video, but it'll cover a couple seconds. For starters, I don't really think she's actually a Buff Orpington. It's actually another breed I'm pretty sure called a Buff Rock, or a Buff Wyandotte. I don't quite yet know exactly what breed of chicken Cute is, because she is a differing feather tone from the other chickens, which is a bit darker. But it's nothing too crazy until you look at her beak and legs. Most Buff Orpingtons will have a white leg, like we'll find out with the next chicken. However, this chicken had a yellow beak and yellow legs, which makes you question and wonder, is she actually a Buff Orpington? You can leave your thoughts about that in the comments below. But other than that, Cute is just an average Buff Orpington with not too much to talk about, other than the fact that yes, her name is not contradictory. It is very much true. Lovey, one of the most infamous chickens I think I've ever had on this channel. She was obviously born with the rest of the chickens in 2020, but unlike Cute, did not have yellow beak or legs, but they're some of the lightest feathers and color for a Buff Orpington. I don't think I've ever seen a Buff Orpington with that light of a coloring. But she was also one of the friendliest chickens along that. She carried along the trait of purity, and of course would end up being one of the cutest chickens ever. One day, back in May 2020, I was just chilling in the chicken yard. I was on my phone because I was watching the chickens because I saw a hawk earlier that day. Maybe it was June, I don't remember. It was like 4 years ago, whatever. I was sitting in the yard and I was on my phone, right? Because I was just bored. I wanted to see something. I wanted to go on there and just chill. You know, texting back and forth with my friends. That was it. And then Lovey comes over, making a peeping sound, and I start petting her. Because any sane person, whenever they see a chicken walking towards them, would at least attempt to make some form of communication with them. And for that was me giving her some massages. The chicken obviously accepted, and would just become one with the ground. It was a bit awkward, but it was one of the first signs that Lovey was one of the greatest possible chickens. There's a lot of lore between then and June 2023, but we're just going to skip, because I don't want this video to be 36 minutes long. But unfortunately, that day came, and over 80,000 views across multiple different channels. The legend Lovey, unfortunately, did not make it past that day. She was killed by a red-tailed hawk at 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, which would be one of the worst case scenarios for anything anyone could possibly ever ask for. If you want more into the Lovey lore, you could check out the iCard above. Also part of the original 9 chickens comes Summer. Enter this chicken and you will automatically realize why her name is Summer. With the dark feather pattern, and the ability to absorb sun and also create ridiculously hot temperatures. That is why this chicken got her name. I don't know why, but she's one of the most interesting barred rocks I think we own. She has the darkest feather tone of all the other barred rocks, and on top of that, she also has these weird shimmers that you'll really not often see on these barred rocks, which makes her another one-of-a-kind chicken. She's also one of the most chill chickens you'll ever meet. Like, she won't really let you pick her up, but like, she'll be one of the most chill chickens I think you could possibly ever ask for. Like, you can pet her at night, and it's crazy. Not too much to talk about this chicken, to be honest, other than the fact that she just watched those chickens die, and she just chills with the chickens. She's one of the last chickens to come outside for one simple reason. Because she doesn't want to be attacked. Very smart thinking, I guess. Yeah, this chicken doesn't really have a lot to say because she only lived for a couple of months. Let's see. Like 4 months, that's it. Because the chicken really did end up sparking a whole lot of controversy between me and the red-tailed hawk after the hawk killed Candlewick brutally. I was so annoyed. Of course I was annoyed, yo. Other than that, she was the first chicken to get attacked, so of course it kind of desensitized me to the topic of getting chickens attacked. It was a real-life lesson that you need to learn, because once your first chicken dies, even if they don't really have a lot of importance, it'll definitely feel a bit sad. However, once the next chicken dies, you won't really feel nearly as sad, and so on and so forth. It was a great life lesson, but it really did annoy me, and it still does annoy me a bit to this day. Mrs. Peepers had to probably be the holy grail of chickens, because she was one of, if not the greatest chicken I think I've ever owned in my entire life. You see, back in May 2020, specifically May 3rd, BCT and Chicken Burger got into a little bit of a fight, if you will, and those two really fought it out. So much so that one of them ended up flying, because it was burnt chicken tender that flew and hit Mrs. Peepers, which unfortunately sent her to the emergency room with a very highly life-threatening injury. She broke one of her legs. I would say the survival rate of a broken leg for a chicken is around probably 80% if you treat it, and 20% if you don't. So please, if you can, treat your chicken's broken leg, because you'll be thankful a lot later. After doing some x-rays and proper examination, the chicken was sent back home in a spleen and everything else that the chicken needed for recovery. After a while, the chicken did recover, but she had a little bit of a scar on her leg. And you could kind of tell that she had a little bit of a spur like a rooster would, except it's a bit smaller. It didn't really have any growth deficit. Alright, I'm gonna not try to pronounce that word. Deficits on the chicken. So no growth deficits. I keep messing that up. But that's pretty much it. It didn't really mess her up a whole lot, and she never really had a big limp anywhere past then. She would even have the greatest comeback story in recorded history. She would end up becoming the greatest leader of the entire pet flock, and in 2022, she did step down, as I said later, but she was probably one of the greatest leaders. She led the flock in the right direction, and under her rule, there was only one death, I believe. Just one. And it was Sprinkles, and it was something completely out of her control. So if you want a politician, just bring Mrs. Peepers back from the dead, and she'll probably run the country smoothly. Anyways, this video took me like 11 hours to make, so a like and subscribe would definitely be greatly appreciated. If you enjoyed this type of video, like chicken videos, you should definitely check out the channel, as I make farming type videos, just detailing whatever happens around here daily, for the most part. And also, if you really enjoy these types of video essays, I have a playlist on the screen right now for you. Be sure to binge watch those while maybe you're cooking, doing the dishes, taking a shower, something like that. It's a great way for entertainment, and I definitely recommend it, so click on it.